What's up, shitheads? It's Ryan and Travis back with another episode of the MMA show. This is episode number 2.
Ooh.
Travis, what do you got on the table here?
Exciting. We had a big week of fights. Now, we've already talked a lot about the Ferguson-Gaethje thing, so I don't think we need to revisit that at all. Where I think we should start is just the order of how it happened. We'll start with Fight Night Smith versus Teixeira. And now, I don't think we need to review every fight, but would definitely just like to talk about some of the highlights.
What was that?
Yeah.
What was that event actually called? That was UFC Jacksonville, right? Because they all happen in Jacksonville.
No, it's UFC Fight Night Smith versus Teixeira.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's really weird. It's like if they have bigger marquee names, they use them as the headline. So, Smith and Teixeira are
Right.
they're staples of the light heavyweight division, so they're big enough to carry a Fight Night card.
Okay.
But sometimes I've noticed if it's newer contenders or stuff, they'll either call it UFC Fight Night Jacksonville or they'll call it UFC Fight Night and its number.
What was the one we went to with Anthony Smith? Did that have his name in it, or was it UFC Fight Night Moncton?
I think it was its number. Because
yeah,
Smith and Ozdemir weren't really Ozdemir is not a name.
No, that was a make or break night for both of them. Outstanding performance, and one career goes one way, one goes the other way.
And that's exactly what happened, though. But yeah, just to get into it. So the first thing I wanted to talk about, Andrei Arlovski. The dude is what? How old is he now? He is
41.
41. And
Oh my gosh.
he took out a 26-year-old man. So Felipe Lins was actually the PFL heavyweight champion before he came over to the UFC. And PFL's no slouch. That's where Justin Gaethje is from. Those are good fighters. What do you think of Arlovski's performance? Do you think
For his age,
yeah,
he was in there. He looked great. And he went all 3 rounds too. Didn't he win by unanimous?
that unanimous decision?
So he went the full distance, and he looked good the whole time.
Yeah.
That's crazy to do for that age, and especially some of the battles he's been in. He
Just wars.
right.
Yeah.
He hung in there. It was cool to see.
Yeah, it was a great fight. I don't think Arlovski's talking about titles, but I don't think
He's not at that point right now.
negative. That's I don't even think that run is realistic, but I think there are some really fun fights left for him in the division. This is a time I wish someone like Roy Nelson was still there, Arlovski Nelson, that'd be a super fun fight. But yeah,
That would be.
right? Just two sluggers.
What's Roy Nelson doing now? Is he just in Bellator? Or did he retire?
But I don't know, man. Bellator, even before all this happened,
They were. When was the last time me and you watched?
I know,
Bellator
and
fight?
we were so high on them for a bit. Bellator's really strange in I find they have runs where they're really good and then they're shit.
It's because they stack their events so close together with big names, and then those guys are all hurt or taking time off or whatever, and they have nothing else.
Yeah. So we just had a big run of Bellator with the heavyweight tournament in the fall is when it concluded. Me and my friend Bob, so we got really into Bellator probably 6 years ago for a run of it when Eddie Alvarez was over there, and oh my God, Hector Lombard when they were just machines. But yeah, then it's they'll just go through a lull, even though they have some great talent like Michael Venom Page, Paul Daly, Douglas Lima, Ryan Bader, Phil Davis, there's good fighters over there.
Lima's one guy I want to see switch over.
Dude, it would be so interesting to see him make a run at 170. I think there's a lot of great fights for him at 170. Does he beat Kamaru Usman? Hell fucking no.
Yeah, but that matchup may never happen too.
No.
That's the weird thing about that sport too.
Yeah, I don't think Lima would be able to get by Woodley, for example. Woodley would just be too fucking much to deal with.
Yeah.
He's just, you know what I mean? I think he would do really well. He'd probably beat Jorge Masvidal. He'd beat Nate Diaz. He'd beat your, people ranked below 5th, basically.
Yep.
Is where I think he would do great. So then, skipping around some fights here, but Drew Dober, Alexander Hernandez, that was fire. That ended by TKO in the second. Crazy fight, both younger guys, prospects in the lightweight division. Do you remember much of the fight? I know it was a week ago now.
I don't remember that one very well.
God, more than a week ago. And then Ben Rothwell over in St. Peru.
Yep.
good fight. Both gentlemen were very gassed. It was OSP's debut at heavyweight. What did you think of the fight? Were you excited
he
on
looked
it?
pretty good for heavyweight, but he clearly looked like he wasn't like used to see him a little lighter and all that too. So
Oh man,
he was gassed. They were both
OSP's
wet.
booty was popping.
Oh my god,
It was huge.
Yep.
They by the third round, it was like a pretty dull fight. It wasn't overly exciting. And then, God, what a fucking heartbreak. Glover Teixeira and Anthony Smith. Just give it to me, Johnny. Tell me your thoughts. I know you remember this one.
I do remember this one, and I think it's fucked. I didn't watch the interview, but I know Anthony Smith came out after and saying that he agrees that the corner shouldn't have stopped it and whatnot. But there are certain points in a fight where when a guy's just getting the shit beat out of him so badly that you gotta kind of throw in a towel.
Oh.
Like he was not strong enough. He was like laggy on his feet. He was clearly getting rocked. He just wasn't on that version of Glover Teixeira's level. He just wasn't.
I think a perfect storm happened. I think for some reason Smith didn't seem first round. It was all fucking like after the end of the first round, I was like, Glover is fucked. Like Smith is just gonna mop him here in the second. But I don't know what happened in between rounds. Like I think it was a mix of Glover turning it on and Smith just like I can't even explain what happened.
Maybe he had a shitty training camp. Maybe there's a billion excuses you can make.
Yeah.
And he obviously had that home invader thing that might have fucked with his mentality for a little bit.
Yeah. Because the first, he was coming out, picking him apart with that long jab. Really using his length to his advantage. Like, it was the first round version of Smith is a champion. Like,
yes,
he was fucking incredible. Like, could hang with Dominic Reyes, Thiago Santos. Like, you put him in with anybody. Like, that's the person who beat Alexander Gustafsson. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But then, fuck, dude. Like, I've never wanted a towel to be thrown in so bad.
It was rough. Like, there was just nothing he was able to do. And it was weird. I wouldn't have expected him to be the one. Well, I mean, he was getting smothered. But I didn't expect it to be him that ran out of energy.
No.
I figured that'd be Teixeira, would gas after the third. He didn't really... How many chances has he had going longer than that? Maybe 3?
A
couple headlines and then...
Yeah, Glover is not a main event fighter. Like,
no.
He's had one title fight and maybe 2 or 3, like, fight night headliners.
Right.
And, I feel like everybody is talking about that it wasn't Smith's night. But, goddamn, like, maybe just Glover's on right now. Like, I think that was his 4th win in a row now.
I don't know.
And, like, against Smith, who's, like, a top level guy. But I really think the theme of the, like, Gaethje versus Ferguson and Smith versus Teixeira is, man, corners got to fucking start throwing the towel sometimes. Because Ferguson took too much abuse. Like, that was unnecessary. And same with Smith. Like, it was too fucking much.
It's weird that happened twice. Like, how many times... throughout the last 10 years can you think that you wish that the fight was actually called and then versus the last week?
Yeah, dude. And actually those aren't like the only fights over the last week that I felt like were getting way too lopsided and not stopped. And I don't know if it was something along like Keith Peterson obviously made the call on stopping the Cruz fight.
Yeah.
And I don't know if refs are gun shy right now to stop a fight. Like, what's happening? But yeah, man, it was fucking rough. It was rough. It was not enjoyable to watch Smith and Ferguson get beat like that. Like, that wasn't fun. After the third round, neither of those fights were fun anymore.
With the fighters being as dialed in as they are,
yeah,
I don't know. Like, so right now there's no crowds.
Yeah.
The fighters are generally they're extremely dialed in by the time they're in that octagon and it's locked.
Yep.
And they're fighting. I don't think that the crowd makes a huge difference for the most part for them. Like, I mean, they might a little bit here and there, get some extra adrenaline when you get 20,000 people chanting your name. But for the most part, I don't think that it matters that much to them.
Right.
Now,
let
me throw this at you.
Sure.
What about the referees? Do you think that they will buy in if the crowd is just going ballistic when Dominic Cruz is getting down, but he's just starting to get back up? And I know we already covered that fight, but he's just starting to get back up, and the crowd is going wild. Do you think maybe that referee pulls back just a little, just that extra little bit because he doesn't have the whole crowd?
I don't know. So with that Cruz Cejudo fight, like, I didn't realize he was getting back up until they ran the replay. So I don't know if the crowd would have. I actually, 100% the crowd would not have noticed that. Maybe a few eagle-eyed fans.
Yeah.
But like, I don't think either of us really saw that he was getting up until they ran the replay.
Specifically for getting up, I didn't see it. I mean, we were drinking that night, and I was getting decently toasty by then.
It was our first night, like, chilling, watching fights. We were having a good time.
Right, exactly. So, but I did think immediately that it felt like a touch of an early stoppage. Like, I know there was a few unanswered, 11 unanswered strikes, but they weren't hardcore ones.
Oh, not at all.
Like, there was a couple that were like, yeah, okay, but then most of them they were just like,
they were hitting his forearm.
Yeah, he was answering the phone and they're just hitting his forearm.
Yeah,
they didn't look that bad.
I agree.
And I was thinking, I thought to myself right away, instantly, before Dominic Cruz stood up and started protesting, I said to myself, like, kind of that seemed just a touch soon.
Yeah.
Just a touch. Nothing crazy. I'm thinking like maybe legitimately 3 seconds or less.
Yeah, like, it wasn't the worst call in the world.
Right.
But in hindsight, it was the wrong call.
Yeah, that's the tricky part though too. It could have went the other way. That's why I'm wondering if the crowd being so into it would have sparked that just tiny little bit of
to let it
doubt
go.
in Keith Peterson's mind to be
Yeah.
like, okay, let this go. And then it also might have given a little bit of adrenaline to Dominic Cruz to stand up that like quarter second faster, and things would have, maybe the fight would have went a whole different way. Maybe it would have still ended, a couple seconds later with a big blow. You just never really know. I don't have a crystal ball. I look like one, but I don't have one. And
I think that was Cejudo's night regardless.
Yeah.
But I think there was
win.
a lot more to that fight. Speaking of officials and people who determine how fights go, so we'll move on to the Overeem versus Harris card.
Let's start at the bottom because I know where this is going already.
Oh,
let's work our way up to that bullshit.
God blessed judges.
Yeah.
So, so we'll start with the main card. First of all, actually, we'll just touch on the prelim main event real quick. Matt Brown getting TKO'd, never fun to watch.
No,
that was a heartbreaker.
That was what, like, I want to say 18 or 20 seconds into round 2.
Oh, dude.
It was quick.
Right. So just so people at home know, Johnny has this weird habit of like remembering weird things and just being able to recall information. He does not have any stats in front of him right now. I do. Miguel Biaza defeated Matt Brown by TKO at 18 seconds of the second round.
I have their names as the ones that fought, so I could remember to pronounce that guy's name. But I don't have anything else written down about that. No, I didn't. I knew it was very early in round 2, and the guy was done on his feet in round 1.
I know, man.
And then he somehow recovered, made it through the rest of the round.
Yeah.
And then just comes out.
And that was a legit stoppage. Like, Brown got starched.
Oh, big time. I'll agree with that one.
Yeah, like, it was perfectly okay. Oh, actually, I just also want to touch on the middleweight bout between Kevin Holland and Anthony Hernandez, ended by TKO first round, 39 seconds.
Yep.
Kevin Holland is a goddamn stud. What a fun addition to middleweight.
It was good.
Yeah, like, middleweight is one of those, like, divisions for whatever reason never feels, like, really invigorated.
Yep.
And even like though they've had like a string of different champions, Chris Weidman, Luke Rockhold, Michael Bisping, George St. Pierre, and now we're on to Izzy, which I think is about to be another long reign at middleweight. I think he's the Anderson Silva of this generation.
Yep.
I think the way Jones has ruled light heavyweight, I think there's a very good chance Izzy does that at middleweight, but it's fun to just have some excitement in there.
Let's backtrack one quick.
Yeah, sure.
I think this was on a prelim fight. Yeah. I think it was the first fight of the night because we actually missed the first round of it because we were just a little late. We thought that the fights weren't ready yet.
Yeah, what were we doing?
We were fucking recording our little dick and shit joke show here.
Oh, right.
And we just let time get away from us, or at least for me. I legitimately thought it was about an hour earlier in the evening than it actually
we
was.
missed like the first 30 minutes.
Right. So there was a fight between, I'm going to fuck this guy's name up, Nate Landwehr
Yes.
and Darren Elkins.
Yes.
That guy had the fucking crimson mask like I haven't seen in a long while.
Insane.
He looked like Carrie.
It was so good, dude. That fight was, well, that's like, so we missed the first round.
Yep.
But we saw the last two.
Yep.
And that did end by unanimous decision. But what a way to kick off the card for us.
That was a good fight.
Shit.
They were both extremely active and they were fucking throwing.
Oh, boys were there to put on a show.
Yep. That was a really cool showing.
Yeah,
Especially for two guys that I'll say I really had no fucking clue who they are.
Yeah,
Darren Elkins, I've known
while,
his name, yeah, but the other guy, I can't tell you I've ever seen him in my life.
Darren Elkins, was he man, I feel like he was in a relationship with another really famous person in MMA, but anyways, I can't remember now. Yeah. So are we ready to talk about the fucking stupidity of...
No, I have one fight I want to talk about. Just quickly.
Yeah.
So it was Krzysztof Jotko, however you pronounce it.
Yeah.
And Eric Anders.
Yeah.
So Eric Anders looks like Patrick Mahomes, but just jacked up. So this was a middleweight fight.
Yeah.
And these guys, we made comments a few times. First of all, we thought they were welters, like for most of the fight until we actually looked it up and realized they were fighting at middleweight.
Yeah.
And they look, even for middleweight, these guys looked fucking jacked. They looked huge.
Oh, way too big.
They looked taller than they should be. They looked thicker than they should be. They looked more muscular than they should be. These guys looked fucking massive.
Yeah. Oh, man. It was, especially Anders.
Anders looked jacked.
It was ridiculous. It's like, how... Did you have to cut off a limb to make 85? How did that work?
It didn't make sense to me.
Yeah. So now we can complain about judges.
Yes, we can complain about judges.
So just to lay this out first, Song Yadong versus Marlon Vera, Dan Ige, Edson Barboza, Claudia Gadelha, Angela Hill. 3 fucking robberies.
Yep.
On one main card. It was fucking disgusting. Now, Song Yadong is pretty exciting. There was some talks that he had some visa issues and he might not have been able to fight.
Yes.
And Uriah Faber just being a stud, weighed in to be ready to fight just in case. And you know, it's great he gets to keep his unbeaten streak and keep going. But Vera got like brutally robbed there. Like a unanimous decision. I don't know.
Yep.
And then Edson Barboza, Dan Ige, Barboza's first fight at featherweight. He looked a little, like, physically at the weigh-ins, he looked a little rough.
He looked fine in the cage, though.
Once he got in there, goddamn.
Yeah, he looked fine in there, in my opinion.
I feel absolutely horrible for anybody who has to deal with Edson Barboza at featherweight. They're just not going to understand how to deal with that power.
Yep.
Like, he's gonna be a demolition machine at featherweight. I think we're going to see a lot of knockouts, a lot of TKOs, but he got robbed, like brutally robbed. He picked apart Dan Ige for the better part of 15 minutes, stayed on the outside, was striking really well. Ige pressed him on the cage a couple of times, but nothing major.
Yep.
Ige landed a couple of big shots. I think he put Barboza down once, but Barboza put down Ige in every round and a couple of rounds multiple times. Yeah, I think it's really shitty. Ige's not a name. Barboza is.
Yep.
I think it would have been really exciting to have Barboza quickly move up the ranks because there's such good fights there, like Ortega, Max Holloway, Alexander Volkanovski. Like, yeah, there's just so much excitement at 45 for him, and I think that was disappointing. And the second biggest heartbreak of the night was Angela Hill getting robbed.
So I don't mind Claudia Gadelha.
No,
I don't. I like her. I'm a fan.
I think both of us find Hill a little bit irritating at times.
Yeah, definitely. She's fucking annoying.
Yeah.
But she won that fight.
Oh, 100%.
In my unskilled mind, she won that fight.
Yeah.
In my more intelligent mind, she still won that fucking fight.
Yeah.
And somehow lost. What was it? It was a split, though, right?
Split, yeah, 29-28 split. Yep. Yeah, it was very unfortunate, man. And like for someone like Hill, she was on the first big win streak of her career.
Yep.
She was really finally going to make some noise. She got her first ranked opponent in Claudia Gadelha,
yep.
who's number 6 ranked and Gedalia has
Probably
been
could have been higher too. Really.
100%. Gedalia has been at the top of this division since its existence.
Yep.
Like, as long as strawweight has existed in the UFC, Claudia Gedalia is a top 5 stable.
Yep.
That was Hill's night, and it's so sad that it got robbed for her. Like, chokes me.
It
Like,
does. That was very bad. Here's the thing. So about that too. So you sent me the global fight record or whatever.
MMA Verdict. Follow them on Instagram. They make really interesting posts during the fight. It's basically an app where people go in and they put in their scorecards.
Okay, that's how it works. All right.
Yeah, so it's I can show you the app after. It's super fucking cool. I downloaded it after that night because I want to learn more about it. So they basically take like thousands of people's scorecards and do it over an average.
Okay.
And so they're trying to get their system adopted by the mixed martial arts community, because I think the issue is you have 3 people scoring it and they aren't getting as good of a view as us. They aren't seeing what we're seeing at home on our televisions. We got these big, beautiful TVs, and we have commentary. And the commentary can be influential in a bad way sometimes.
It can.
Like up until the 3rd round, the way Joe was talking about Tony Ferguson versus Gaethje, like you would have thought Ferguson had a chance in the fight, but in reality, by midway through the 3rd, Gaethje was running
clear
away.
Who was running away with that one?
Yeah. So yeah, they use theirs, and so every single bad call that we just said, MMA Verdict had the opposite. So they had Hill winning, they had Barboza winning, and they had Vera winning. And yeah, it's gross. Like it's just, you feel really bad for someone like Angela Hill, who's about to have her big
She's been
break.
putting in work, short notice work too.
Oh, that was her 4th fight in 2020.
It was something like that, which is crazy because there's only been 4.5 months.
I'll look this just like, because it's like whether it's 3 or 4 in 2020, like it's still ridiculous.
Yeah.
That was her 3rd fight in 2020 and her 4th fight since September.
That's still a ridiculous stat.
Yeah, and it's something like her last 3 fights
were short notice.
She took on less than 3 weeks' notice.
That's incredible.
Like,
so she's just basically walking around, living life, damn close to the top of her game,
being a baller.
Yeah, exactly. Not needing a huge camp and all this and that. So after you sent me that global scorecard thing,
yeah.
I looked up the actual scorecard. Like, you know how they take pictures of the real scorecards to show, like, well, this is why she won, whatever.
Yeah.
So there's one thing I noticed that was really interesting on the actual scorecard.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm just overthinking this. Maybe I'm not. At the top of it, it says the name of the company, the commission that's doing the scoring. Just like it would at the top of any invoice and whatnot. It would say the name of the company. And it was called the Florida State Boxing Commission. Do you think that had anything to do with it? That these people, that these judges, those on that particular night, under these weird circumstances, with all those bad calls that night and the same fucking 3 judges, do you think that they just weren't MMA judges? Is that possible?
No. So the way it works for those commissions, so MMA is sanctioned in different states and provinces under either boxing commissions or state athletic commissions.
Okay.
So just like the refs.
Well, fuck me then, right?
So yeah, the same judges.
I thought I was onto something. There's a big conspiracy here.
But the same judges travel around like the refs.
Oh. Okay.
And they're just licensed
under each
commission.
Okay.
Yeah. In saying that, I like our MMA refs. I don't know, like some of them are pretty fucked. Like when you think about like that Barboza and that Hill, like what should be their wins were both split decision losses. So like only 1 out of 3 got it right.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean?
Do you know, just on the same topic, but sort of side note,
sure.
Do you know how you become an MMA judge? Or is this like a...
Unsure.
Is it because like in other sports, like let's say you're watching the Olympics.
Yeah.
And you're watching fucking figure skating.
Yep.
The judges are former coaches and skaters themselves.
Yeah.
That, I mean, at least I think that's where it should be.
I think a lot of it is.
The only problem is I think you probably run into biases at some point there too. You might, especially when it's country versus country.
It's really like
maybe that was just a bad example.
I don't know much about the judges, honestly. I don't know their personalities because it's not like refs. Like we get to know refs.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
You see their face. You get to see how they stop people, and
Yeah,
you can hear them. You can hear their voices.
100%. Like, and we form such opinions on refs, like Herzog and Herb Dean and Murgulata. Like, when we see them get in the cage, we're like, oh, good. Like,
very few fuck ups.
Yeah, this should go well. Everybody's made a mistake here and there, and I don't think the community gets too upset about like Herzog or Dean or Murgulata making a mistake because they're not that common.
Right. More willing to forgive it if there is a fuck up.
You see Goddard or fucking Keith Peterson get in there, you're like, oh,
could go one way or the other.
This could go real south.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think the whole thing, and we'll talk about the main event in a second, but the Overeem versus Harris fight card, unfortunately, the biggest takeaway is not the performances, it's the fucking judging, because it was a great card. Like, all those, you see decisions, like a lot of decisions, 3 out of 5 are decisions, you think it was a bad fight card, like it wasn't exciting.
There just weren't finishes.
Yeah, but they were incredible fights, super fun, really competitive.
Yep.
As you can tell by the closeness of them. Just unfortunately, out of the 3 decisions on that main card, I don't think a single one was doled out correctly. And it was really upsetting to watch. Like, again, I keep going back to Hill, like someone who just has not been able to catch a break, finally fucking pieces it together, finally gets her opportunity at a ranked opponent, beats her, and gets robbed. Like, bullshit.
I think she beat her in every way. That was horseshit to see.
And just so people know, we don't like Angela Hill as a personality. We do like Claudia Gadelha. So it's a lot for us to say.
That being said, Angela Hill is kind of winning me over.
I started following her on Instagram. She's fucking funny.
Especially now that she's like, she was fired up after that. You sent me a thing. She flat out said, I fucking won that fight.
Yeah. Like, she is, I think, and this is, grain of salt. But what she didn't gain in a win that night, I think she has certainly gained in fan appreciation and an audience. Because I am now a bigger Angela Hill fan that I want to see her back tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't want to see her fight unranked. Like, give her someone else in the top 10. Fucking run back Claudia Gadelha and let Hill like prove that she won that. And I think on a second performance, Hill doesn't let it get to a scorecard, or if she does, it's done very dominantly.
I think that's the problem. Fuck, I keep harping on this fucking judging thing.
Yeah.
So I was saying, like, where do they come from? They should be ex-pros or coaches or whatever. Even if it was like on, maybe you have like a grappling judge and wrestling judge or a striking judge. Maybe you could divide them up into like that, and then it's like, I don't know if that would work at all. And actually, now that I'm running it back in my head, but the problem is
better training.
Yeah, I think it's better training, but it's also just as a fan of it, or even a casual fan, like a guy. Let's say the girlfriends, just to be super stereotypical, they want to hang out with their boyfriends while the guys are all watching the fights.
Yeah, chill.
They don't have a fucking clue what's going on. If there's not a finish, a knockout finish or TKO, then for the most part, the super casual fan doesn't know what's happening.
Yeah.
Like, they get it. Okay, yeah, he's punching kicks. They fucking hurt. But when it gets to the ground game, they don't really know, like, oh, that looks like it could hurt the leg or something. Like, those kind of spell themselves out. But for the most part, if it goes to decision, unless one guy's super bloody and one guy's standing there pristine, you don't really know who won that fight as a casual fan. So it's like, it's one of those weird sports where someone just flicking it on for the first time doesn't know, like, well, what do you mean? So there's octagon control? So he gets more scores because he's on that side of the line and this guy's back is to the cage, or
the way he's moving them,
he's exactly. And then judges also take a small amount of consideration in the way you look at the end of a fight, but that's not mentioned in the scores or in the rule breakdown, the little 10-second rule breakdown. Oh,
they don't even do that anymore.
Yeah, when
remember that?
Yeah,
how they used to put up. Goldie would review like how fights are scored.
And even then, that was like they did it so quick and just yada yada yada, and on to the next little thing.
Octagon
and it's like
control,
right? So for someone like us, we know that that's like a thing.
Yeah,
that's part of the scoring. But for someone just flicking it on, and I think that might be a small ceiling. Like when it comes to something like hockey and someone cross checks, whoa, he shouldn't be allowed to do that, or he trips someone. That shouldn't be allowed.
Yeah,
and guess what?
It's very obvious.
It's not, and it's obvious.
Yeah.
So like with most sports, leave football, American football, fucking way out of this.
Yeah.
But for most sports, you know what's allowed and what's not just based on common knowledge,
Totally.
common logic. It's like, oh, you shouldn't be allowed to trip that soccer player like that.
Yeah.
No, that shouldn't be allowed. But when it comes to fights, what the fuck can go and what can't? Like the whole 6 o'clock, 12 o'clock elbows, or striking behind the head, or fucking with 3 points of contact down, you can't knee the guy in the face. Why?
I know. It's a lot of rules that for a casual fan it'd be really, really hard to understand what's happening. And I get it. And then you look back, and then like just to bring back the judges into the conversation, like right now you have like Big John McCarthy has his own school for referees.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that's like,
he was the best ever.
Do you know Frank Trigg? Used to be a UFC
I know the
fighter.
Name. I know the name. I can't tell you I know the guy, but
yeah, so he was in the UFC.
Had lunch with him last week.
Yeah, he was a 170er, like one of the godfathers of the sport. But he did like the John McCarthy school, and he's a ref now. And like, man, I think that level of education is what you need for the judges. They need to be instructed by someone who's very, very knowledgeable.
Yes,
and. You know, and there's one last, and this is the last we should touch on judging. We'll get on to the main event because we have other shit to do today.
Yes.
But top control is too overrated because, you know, whenever a judge is looking at a fight, like if someone's in that person's guard, like, and the person on their back, they always look at the person on their back as losing.
Yep.
Which is deterring a lot of great grappling. Like,
oh, big time.
You know, there's certain UFC fighters that are so good on the ground, so good off their back, so good at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I want to see them pull guard. Like, I want to see them drag that fight to the ground at any means necessary. Like, the only person who successfully pulls guard is Damian Maia. But there's other UFC fighters who are that good at it, but are just afraid of getting caught in that position, and it won't be looked at favorably by the judges. And I think it's taken away a good aspect of our sport. Yeah, they feel like they're giving away points for pulling guard when they're aggressive and want to attack at a guard. But we're because of judging and the way the fights are judged, we're missing a really cool aspect of this sport. That I think, like, it really does need to be corrected. Like, it takes away basically what the sport is founded on. Like, the first hero of mixed martial arts is Royce Gracie. Yep. Like, it's about jiu-jitsu. But yeah, that's my thoughts and feelings.
What did you think of having 3 fights just before we get into Overeem here and Walt Harris?
Till we cry and hold each other.
Exactly. What did you think about having 3 fights? Because we were just saying a minute ago how you'd like to see Angela Hill fight again tomorrow. Yeah. And it made me kind of think, how did you like having 3 fight cards in 1 week?
By the time the one ended on Saturday, I was like, okay, cool. I'm cool for a week off. But now that this Saturday's fight card has gotten pushed back a week.
Yep.
Because there's supposed to be one this Saturday. That would be May the 23rd for anybody who's listening later.
I'm glad there's not. I have other plans that night.
Oh, but it's like, it's pushed back
I'm
to
watching
May 30th.
wrestling.
Oh, gotcha. I was like, where are you going with this?
No, I'm watching wrestling.
But yeah, so like now it's pushed back to May 30th, which, you know, they need to do whatever they need to do. That's okay. Yep. But now I'm sad. It's like, oh, fuck. Like,
I kind of got into it.
I want to watch more fights.
If it wasn't for Corona and having like a little extra free time on my hands, you know, my schedule's wide open right now.
Yeah, fuck yeah, dude.
Then if life was normal, I maybe wouldn't want 3 a week, but I'd probably be okay with almost like every Saturday night if there was fights.
Hell yeah, man.
Then I would probably be cool with that. That might be a little bit of fucking, because I had sports blue balls there.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
dude.
It might be a little bit of that, and now I'm fucking getting sport late again, you know?
Yeah,
So maybe it was a little bit of that, but I honestly, I was into it. Like I was like, and I texted you on, I think, the Wednesday or whatever, or you texted me.
Yeah.
And that's when I remembered, holy fuck, there's fights tonight.
So exciting.
And then it was, oh my God, and it's again this Saturday. And I was like, I was super
surprise,
pumped.
motherfucker.
Yeah, that was genuine, real, human, adult male excitement.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it was great.
Now that today is, what day of the week is it?
It's Friday.
Oh, okay.
So it's been a week since we've been able to watch fights again.
Yeah, I thought today might have been Thursday.
sad.
I had no idea what day of the week it is. Corona, love it. But no, anyway, so tomorrow is the 1 week anniversary since we've seen live sports.
I know.
And it feels like I'm more than ready to see.
Oh, if there
See
was
it
fights on tomorrow, it wouldn't even be a question.
I'd still be watching wrestling, but
Oh, yeah.
it's because it's a pay-per-view and I'm pumped. But anyway, so that was pumped. And you know what? Just while it's on my mind,
Yeah.
because I watch a lot of Instagram.
Sure.
Whoever the fuck is running social media for the UFC needs to get fired and fined extremely severely.
Why?
Have you ever seen, so obviously they post videos sometime.
Yeah.
Pictures are fine.
Sure.
Their promotionary stuff, fine. I'm cool with that. But their videos are so fucking bad. Like, they don't fit in the screen.
Oh,
So-
I know exactly what you mean.
I am a fucking nobody with my cock in my hand,
Yeah.
and I can make my video in HD fit in that box clear enough that it's not zoomed way out or anything.
Oh,
and
dude.
these idiots can't, to the point when you're watching a highlight or something,
You just gotta turn
can't
it
see the
off.
clock. You don't know how much time's left on it. You can just see the corner of like the countdown thing. You can't see their faces half the
the
time.
fighter goes completely off the screen.
Yeah, you're looking at a referee because he's generally framed in
In
the,
the middle.
center between
Yeah.
the two fighters. It's fucking ridiculous. Whoever's posting these needs to actually be, not only lose their job, but there needs to be a circulation going around at all other companies that hire social media employees to not hire this motherfucker. And I think he should be fined whatever he's been paid for the past handful of years. I'm serious. No, it's fucking bad because there's been points.
It's so annoying.
It's fucking, that is bad for a multi-billion-dollar company.
Yeah.
Who they do a lot of social media promotion. That's probably their biggest driving promotion,
100%.
other than on their pay-per-views promoting the next pay-per-view or next fight card.
Yeah.
Other than that, that's probably their biggest platform is social media. And when they can't get a fucking simple video right, and a schmuck like me can, and let me tell you, guess how much effort is involved in it? There's no extra steps. Let me put that forward.
Yeah.
All it is when you post a picture or video on Instagram, there's a little zoom out button. Looks like it's in the bottom left corner. Looks like two arrows facing each other. Just press that. That's all you have to do, and it's done. Everything just happens for you. It's this magical little machine. And this motherfucker can't frame a video properly. I don't get it. And I bet that guy's making six figures, at least six figures. This idiot sitting at home with his Doritos in his hand, fucking posting clips.
Touching his willy.
It's ridiculous. Anyway, that was my rant. I had to get it off my chest because I
You
was
know what
watching
really
a clip.
grinds my gears?
Yes, Jesus. I was watching a clip earlier this weekend. I noticed. I was like, what the fuck am I looking at? I'm looking at the referee's crotch the whole time. What is this bullshit? I didn't even know who was fighting. If I didn't look at who was fighting in the caption below, I wouldn't have known. I would have had to just read, okay, he's yellow and green boxers, so chances are he's Brazilian. The other guy's wearing black and red, so he could be fucking from anywhere.
Who knows?
Oh,
Yeah.
anyway.
Oh, man.
I'm fired right up now.
So now this will bring you down really quick.
Okay.
Walt Harris TKO'd in the second round.
That was only the second round?
That was the
I thought I
second.
made it to the third. But
No, that's because that first round was fucking wild.
that went one way, then it really went the other way.
Woo.
It went
Man,
one way in a hurry for Walt, and it was like, oh my God, he's clobbering him.
dude, I thought he was taking Overeem out. I was like, oh shit.
Thank God we had a good referee in there. Because if it had been one of the other schmucks that we were talking about earlier,
Would have been over.
it might have been called.
Yeah. Wait a minute. Are you sure it wasn't Keith Peter? No, it definitely wasn't. Oh, it was Dean, wasn't it? Was it?
I think
Herb Dean?
it was.
Dan Regulata.
it was
a
one-
big dude.
I remember being thankful of who it was, though, because
Yeah.
I knew it would be a stoppage fight.
Yes, because I think the fight before had been Keith Peterson.
Yeah.
And then the next fight, it showed the ref, and we were just both like, oh, God.
Yeah.
Thank you, God. Thank you.
Yeah, that's what
Um,
I think you might be right.
Yeah, so that was really crazy. Walt Harris comes out, starches Overeem off the first, puts him down, hitting him with big shots, dropped him again after he got up. Like, he was just on him for 2.5 minutes. And then the fucking weirdest thing, like, Harris, first of all, goes, I think it was like a high kick on the fucking cage. It was like, what? Overeem was completely backed up into the cage, and Harris throws a high kick
Weird.
and then falls
For a
down,
big guy.
and Overeem
any guy.
pounces.
Yeah.
And Overeem probably has the most underrated ground game in the heavyweight division.
Yep. He can roll.
And he just fucking rolls Harris over, man. And that was it. The next 2.5 minutes were just
was.
Overeem domination. He recovered from being hurt bad. They came out, and then the second wasn't even a conversation. Just
Nope.
Overeem rushed it, and it was done. Put him
He's
down.
he's another guy. What, did he just turn 40 or 41 himself?
He turned so he turned 40 in the cage.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
it went to
It went to
technically after
12
midnight
o'clock,
in
yeah.
that time zone. That's right.
Yeah.
So he's way underestimated right now. Like, everyone remembers when he first came in. What was his first fight? Was his first fight in the UFC against Brock? because it wasn't a championship fight. But
I'm pretty sure it was against Brock.
Yeah, he was billed as like being this monster, which there was some extra stuff going on in his veins at the time, I'm sure. And now it's a little different. But even being different and you know, he had a couple of weird losses where he got beat the fuck up, and then that lip getting beat up and everything. Like, he looked like shit. But man, he is way underestimated. That guy is an incredible striker. He can beat the crap out of you on the ground too. He's I think that he's got enough in the tank that he might make another real run here.
Oh, I don't
Especially
think
with a dominant win like that.
Whatsoever. Yeah, his first fight in the UFC was Brock Lesnar.
Jesus.
And he walked in and people were like, Lesnar's going to take him down. And then Overeem was just like, no, sir. No, here is my foot inside of your body. Yeah, and do you know what's really weird? Like, we were talking about Arlovski earlier, and we were talking about his age. Like, him and Overeem are essentially the same age.
Yeah.
But for some reason, nobody has that discussion about age with Overeem. Like, Overeem's been around just as long as Arlovski.
It's because he doesn't look old. He still has, he
very
doesn't have,
youthful.
like, the salt and pepper thing going on. Well, I guess he stays cleaner, shaven.
Yeah.
I guess he's got a little bit of it. He just looks more young and...
Do you think it's because Overeem's more technical as well that people have a different view of him? Like Arlovski, at the end of the day, there is, you know, a technical aspect to Arlovski, but you saw him during that fight, like Andre kept trying to go into a southpaw stance against Lins, and it looked like shit. It was like, what the fuck are you doing? Stop doing that. Every time you do that, you're getting hit.
It's like he's working on a new skill that he's just trying to develop now at 41.
Yeah, and Overeem at 40... like, has a skill set that's, for most people, like, unless, like, you're Francis Ngannou or someone who has an evenly matched skill set to him, like, it's fucking impossible to deal with him.
Yep. Arlovski looks 40. Like, I mean, his body, he has, like, a weathered, like, fighter's body. You know what I mean? He's a little looser, there's a little more wiggle in him. Like, he's just, like, he's one of those guys, like, he's like an uncle. You know what I mean? Like, oh, my fucking uncle is strong as hell. Like, you know what I mean? But then you get over him and he looks jacked. Like, he still looks a little
like
more
an athlete.
cut. Yeah, exactly. I think that might be a little bit of why you don't put his age. Like, I didn't think he was as old as he was until in the build-up video or whatever, they were saying how he made his debut in 1999
at
19 years old. And I kind of did the math and I'm like, hold on a second, that means he's like 40 right now. And then all of a sudden they started saying, oh, it's his birthday tomorrow. In fact, if the fight goes X amount of time, he'll turn 40 in the cage. But that's when I realized just how old he was, because I wouldn't have thought. I would have picked probably 35 maybe
Mid-30s,
at the most. Yeah,
100%.
exactly.
Heavyweights are old, man, or heavyweights are weird in their age. Like, you really don't come into your prime as a heavyweight until your mid-30s.
Crazy. It's the only division I think like that too.
And do you know what's even more fucked to think about? Overeem started as a 205 pounder.
Jesus.
Yeah, like, have you ever seen old videos of him fighting at 205? Actually, he might have even been all the way down at middleweight at one point.
I've seen highlight videos of him in K1, would it have been?
No, it would have been Pride.
Pride?
Would have been
Okay.
Pride, yeah. By the time he got to K1 kickboxing, he was fucking ginormous.
All right.
Yeah, he was huge.
I still think it might have been K1 highlights that I saw.
Yeah.
But he just wasn't as young, I guess.
Yeah, man, the best thing, like, when he got really big in, like, Pride and K1 and stuff, and I mean, like, physically, not fame, like, you know, it's bad for the sport. I understand this is a clean sport, it's a great sport, but man, when Overeem existed, what a fucking... You know what? Francis Ngannou is Overeem without the steroids.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's fucked.
The cool thing is with those heavyweights, the fights get so... Like, it either goes one way or the other with heavyweight fights. Like, how
100%.
often do you see a heavyweight fight that's a fucking barn burner from start to finish?
Never.
Unless there is a finish, like a knockout. Very, very fucking rarely. And if it does, it's a 3-rounder only. And even that, I can't think of a good example right off the top of my noggin.
The only war that I could ever think of that went the distance that was fucking good the whole time was JDS Velasquez 2.
Yeah, all right.
That was a fucking good fight beginning to end, but that was both the boys in their prime.
Yep.
They were both cardio machines. Like, Cardio Kane was nuts.
Yep.
But that's the only one I can think
So
of.
the fights always either end in a finish,
Yeah.
or they go the distance and it's a fucking snooze fest.
Yeah.
And I might have this a bit wrong, but if I remember right from Pride,
Yeah.
fights didn't really go the distance because, first of all, there was a lot less drug testing and all that, so there was a little bit of extra shit going on.
And first round was 10 minutes.
Oh, I don't remember that, but I remember they didn't have like the soccer rules where like
Oh, hell yeah.
they'd show like a yellow card basically, and like if you fucking got 2 yellow cards, you lose your purse because you're not providing
I
entertainment.
think you were fined like a percentage due to inactivity.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, man.
So
Look,
there was 2 warnings.
yeah, that's what created like your Vanderleys, your Rampage, Shogun, Nogueira,
Yep.
Alistair Overeem. Like that's where these fucking psychos come from. Is like they became so quickly accustomed to like
You gotta
fighter,
fucking move.
let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
and they were, man, Vanderlei Silva in this day, god damn. Like
There's
so
there's some fights that happen that like I feel fucking robbed watching it. Like I feel
Yeah.
like what was that one we watched? It was Izzy and Yoel Romero or something.
Oh, fucking
that
hot garbage.
Jesus, like thank goodness like there was some decent fights on that night in general.
I know,
and
man.
it was a good night overall, but like I watch all the UFCs. Whether if we can't get together and watch them, generally I'm still gonna order it. I'm just gonna sit here by myself. If that had been one of those nights, I would have felt like you took my money.
Yeah, you didn't provide me.
That's what Pride did. They made those nights not happen,
Yeah.
or at least not logically. So, the first one you got warned, if you for inactivity, you got basically like a yellow card.
Yeah.
And the second time you lost your purse. So
I don't think it was it was a percentage.
Yes.
Yeah,
You didn't
yeah.
walk out empty-handed, but
Yeah.
it was a big percent.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
like 20 to 50% somewhere.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that would be a rule that could transfer into like.
I don't like it.
I like the activity of it.
I think
but
it
the thing is,
manipulates
has
the
to be
sport
real
in a weird
activity.
way. And because then like yeah, I don't know.
You know how many times you watch a fight that to a casual or most of the people in the arena sometimes they'll sit there and the whole crowd is booing. They're like nothing's happening. Meanwhile, on camera, you're looking at it like, holy fuck, no, he's working his way into the fucking something or other here.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's like that sort of thing might fuck it up. You get a crowd in Vegas, it's all just a bunch of drunk idiots.
Yeah.
And they're booing, and then a guy's losing a bunch of money.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, maybe I wouldn't want to
Yeah,
see that transfer over.
Yeah, I think what happens, and I think what's most boring, when two fighters are like that Yoel Romero Izzy fight was just legit a shit fight. Like they just stood across from each other the whole time. When people are fighting against the cage, I can understand how that's really unentertaining. It's my least favorite way of fighting.
Especially if it's heavyweights, because there's a lot of times they just rely on power. Just, get some separation and boom.
Yeah.
They're not trying to actually do something technical.
Even though sometimes those battles against the fences, like they can be some of the most complex, interesting parts of the sport.
Big time.
And unique to the sport. Like, you can't do that in a boxing ring.
Right.
Or like Pride MMA couldn't do it, or drink like anybody who's using a ring.
You just fall through.
Yeah. But yeah, so Overeem Harris, it was really great to see. I'm okay with Overeem winning. I love Overeem.
I thought the whole time he would. Don't get me wrong, there was the heartstrings pulling for Walt.
100%.
But I thought from minute one
it was
Overeem was going to win. He didn't have a bunch of other shit going on in his life.
No.
And he was able to like actually continue training.
I think what's going to happen from this, Walt learned a big lesson.
Yep.
And I think he was very emotional, but he learned patience.
Yes.
Patience is a virtue. Like if he had patience,
That's exactly
that was his fight.
Good point. Very well put.
So I think he's going to go back. His camp's they're going to work on that. They're going to bring down the emotion. That first fight after a really tragic event in his life is going to be over. And I think we're going to see a resurgent Walt Harris. I think he's going to storm back into the heavyweight division and give a lot of people fucking problems. Get his cardio back in shape, because he did look out of shape for
big time. And he said it in like the hype. So they're hyping this guy up.
Yeah.
And instead of hyping up like his accolades, they're basically hyping him up as he's a father that has something to fight for.
Yeah.
Which God bless everything that happened there. But they preached for like 3 or 4 minutes about how he went into this dark place and he was just kind of drinking, not training, eating bullshit. And it's like, okay, so
this isn't good.
You're pinning up this guy that's already a big guy.
Yeah.
Up against a fucking killer who isn't going through this rough part in his life, who's training, who's more motivated than ever because of some losses that he had. And you're going to put him in against a guy that's just kind of fighting for his own personal pride and his family's pride. It's like, I don't know if this is going to go so well. Like, it was kind of a weird matchup, even without other shit going on.
Yeah.
And I honestly, there was not everything came down to he has to win because his daughter was killed.
Yeah.
Like that was it. It's like, okay, but that's not going to do it for you. Like,
No,
there's
not
been
against
lots
Overeem.
of people do it, you know?
Yeah.
Do you know how many baseball players go out there and say they're going to hit a home run for a dying child and can't fucking hit the ball?
Oh, 100%.
It's like you can't make that all about something that has nothing to do with the sport that you're competing in.
I agree entirely. It was a weird hype, and like, you know, I understand it's a conversation that's obviously going to be had. Like, it was a very public thing. But yeah, I just hope Walt goes back, gets back in the correct shape, comes back with the same enthusiasm, energy, and power that he did have in the first 2.5 minutes of that fight. Learns a bit of patience, learned a big lesson. Overeem offered in the cage to train with him. I hope he takes up on that.
Big time.
He should train with someone as experienced and knowledgeable as
One of the
Overeem.
best shows of sportsmanship I've ever seen. Not only after the fight, but before.
Yeah.
So when a fighter goes in and then the second fighter comes in,
there's
been a couple moments where security almost had to get between them before the fight started or before they're announced. Yeah. So that's, but like for the most part, if you're going to do your little walk around and wave to the crowd or do your strut or whatever the case is, you generally give the other guy space or turn your back to him and just ignore him like, fuck this guy.
Yeah.
It was the first time I ever saw a fighter get to another fighter and put his hands on him, but in a very friendly way. Gave him like kind of like a bro hug. One arm around him, head onto his shoulders, and like a tap on his belly, like I got you. Like
yeah, we're gonna have some fun.
Yeah,
Let's go.
I'm with you here, bro. And then the fight goes on, and then after the fight, there was. It wasn't just the like, you know, okay, boom, the whistle blows, or I knocked you out, and then a quick little, or I made you tap, and then a quick little hug. It was they sat with their knees together. Yeah, and looked at each other, and almost as if they were like sitting in a prayer, like a typical martial arts, like you know, it's what you do, and in the dojo and all that. Yeah. And there was just nothing but respect. The camera never picked up what they said, or the microphones never picked up what they said in that moment. No. But that was awesome. And then they hugged a couple of times, and then there was obviously the olive branch sort of, or whatever the word would be, to train with them. That was. I don't think in any sport ever there's been that show of respect. Oh, that was like switching soccer jerseys to the fucking extreme.
Dude, Overeem, that's one thing Overeem definitely always has been, though, is a fucking class act. Like, even when he beat the shit out of Lesnar, all the shit Lesnar talked to him, like, Overeem was still cool. He was still, like, handshakes and hugs. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, he's an awesome dude. Yeah, and that's all I got to say about that.
Lieutenant Dan, ice cream.
Dan. I watched that movie recently. Cool. I'm excited. We got fights coming up next weekend. Yep. Headliner is Gilbert Burns versus Tyron Woodley. Yep. We also have the return of Antonio Shevchenko.
And that was just made, by the way. Yeah. I sent it to you 48 hours ago. Yeah. And the fight's in a week.
Yeah.
And they didn't have a main event yet.
Now, the Woodley Burns one has been around for a month now.
It just wasn't determined when it was going to happen? Yeah. Okay.
And then we have Antonia Shevchenko versus Caitlin Kugigan.
Kugigan?
Yeah, which is super weird because Caitlin just fought Valentina.
Yes.
So she's going Shevchenko to Shevchenko.
Are they related?
They're sisters.
Oh, okay.
Both in the UFC flyweight division, just Valentina is a fucking lot better. And then about a week after that, we have UFC 250. One fight that did just get announced for that I'm very excited about. Sean O'Malley versus Alex Garces.
I saw that.
Woo! I think Sean O'Malley
fanboy club over here.
Let's go. I think he's future bantamweight.
Yep.
I think he's a star. He's a stud. He backs it up in the cage. Like when he beat Andre, I get so excited talking about him. I just fuck up my words. Andre Sukamouth.
Yep.
He beat him with a broken fucking ankle. Like, just think about that. Like, he broke his ankle in the second and still won that fight. Like, Sean O'Malley's different.
Yep, I like the guy.
But yeah, so we got some big fights coming up. We're going to keep reviewing, keep talking about them, keep being excited. Yeah, this was the MMA podcast.
Cool. And where do we find you on Instagram?
Oh, so you can find me at tfan23. Hit me up on Instagram. Where can we find you, Ryan?
On Instagram at drunkryan. And we can find us both on Instagram at Dudes Talking Shit. I should give you the login for that. Nothing happens on it.
DM us with questions. Woo!